What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Early Morning Setup, a card show podcast. And we have another guest today for this episode. His name is also Joe. How are you doing today? How do I introduce you to the first ever time you've been on any of my podcasts? Because I know you've been clamoring to be on all of my podcasts, and you finally are. Give me the best introduction that you can, that you've been gearing up for 3 years.
Well, I mean, it's because there's a lot of differing opinions on this hobby, and as I respect everybody's opinions, I also have my own and want them to be heard. You know, I'm an avid collector. I've also do a lot of trading, do a lot of card shows. Fully into the hobby, been fully into the hobby since I was probably about 6, I would say. So, you know, I just wanted to come on and share my insight and, you know, my views, which not everybody's going to agree with anyways, but that's fine. Everybody's going to have their own way of doing things.
You literally took the question out of my mouth. I was going to ask you, give me a little brief intro to you, how long you've been collecting, how you got into the hobby, stuff like that. So I'm going to be looking at my phone over here because my computer's way over here, and this is the first ever time I've actually had someone here in the shop for any kind of video or interview. So we're making it work. It's actually a good setup. I just don't have the computer in front of me, so I'm going to be referring to my phone, looking down a little bit to get some of these questions. But you literally took the questions right out of my mouth. I was going to ask you, how long you've been collecting for? How did you find yourself into cards? But I do want to ask you didn't answer this one, is what are your favorite players to collect? Start back when you were young, a young Joe. Who were your guys? What were your teams to collect? And are they still today, the guys you're collecting?
I mean, when I first started really collecting somebody hard, it was probably Allen Iverson. Like, that was my man. Like, he was that dude. I don't think he gets a lot of respect still to this day. Small man at his position, driving the lane, got banged on a lot.
Pause.
Yeah, pause. Straight pause. Meaning he got physically beat down a lot in a way more aggressive era in basketball, I should say. I think his career would have probably been about 5 to 6 years longer if we were in the Steph Curry era and the LeBron era, you know. But we're not. So, yeah, he was probably the first person I started to really collect like that. And then, you know, transition over to Peyton Manning and, you know, right around the same time frame right there. So
Peyton Manning, because you're a Colts fan, right?
Yeah, definitely a Colts fan, unfortunately, right now.
Do you have cards in your collection to this day that either you had back then, or just generally speaking, are there cards in your collection, or are you just a hype beast flipper?
Only a few that I've kept over the years, but that I think comes with moving multiple times and going through different phases in life. I think everybody loses track of certain things. I wouldn't exactly call myself a hype beast flipper. Do I use my knowledge to my advantage in the best way possible? Yeah, of course. But I think everybody should be doing that while they can in this hobby and taking a little bit of advantage of it. It's a good time for the hobby right before the turnover we're about to have, which, you know, is one thing to be discussed at another time. We're having one of the biggest turnovers with companies in the past 20 years. So it's going to be interesting to see how the hobby responds to that. But I think everybody should be able to do a little bit of both without being
Collecting and flipping?
Yeah, well, without being egregious and obnoxious about it. I think there's a way to go about it respectfully, and then there's those people that are just way over the top, and I think everybody knows one of those people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I always say that the hobby is full of 97% good people, but it's the 3% that speak the loudest. And I think that just like you, we all know that one person, right? I mean, we all hear about the 3%, whether it's people stealing, scamming, or, you know, whatever, but we don't hear about the, oh, I had a great deal with this person. Oh, I got a good price from that shop. And I wish that was the stuff that we can sit here and talk about, and not some of the bad things that we might get into, you know, involving the hobby.
Well, that's the age-old adage is, you know, negativity sells better than positivity. It's a lot easier to be negative with a lot of negative things going on than to be positive. It's a lot harder to be positive. So, I mean, that's the day and age we're living in, and that's just what we're forced to deal with, unfortunately.
So we're going to dive into card shows in a little bit. And obviously I got my questions geared up for you, but you mentioned something that I kind of want to talk about in terms of the hobby, because obviously card shows and the hobby extremely hand in hand. but you mentioned the turnover. Now, I'm assuming you're talking about the turnover with the manufacturers, with the cards being printed. Now, I'm personally a fan of Fanatics kind of taking over because I don't think it can get much worse. People were very excited for Panini when they took over way back in 2013, I believe it was. For someone that's been collecting since then and before, kind of give me your opinion quickly about what you see the hobby in terms of where it's going with Fanatics and just generally speaking comparative to when like Panini kind of got the licensure and took over.
Well, I mean, I'm not sure the exact date on Panini, but they did buy out, if you remember back in the day, Fleer, Skybox, all those big ones. So it might have even been earlier than 2013, but that eliminated a lot of people's early childhood favorites between, the Skyboxes, the Fleers, and all that. I know a ton of people were collecting those. But as far as the turnover, man, you thought COVID dying out was going to be bad for the hobby, which it was in a way.
Yeah.
I feel like this is going to be a little worse.
Fanatics taking over?
Yeah. Well, because it's going to, on one hand, it's going to put a premium on a lot of Panini product because Fanatics with Topps is not going to be able to go back and print these guys like Burrow and Herberts and all the dynasty quarterbacks and, everybody that's starting right now. They're not going to be able to just reprint rookies and slap rookie shields on them. It's not going to happen. So there's going to be, in the beginning, I feel like a premium on Panini product. And then people are slowly going to transition, but I feel like we're going to get hammered with Topps product and forced to eat it.
Yeah.
And if you're a true collector, like, in your heart, deep down, you're going to be forced to buy it, even though you don't want it. We know that Topps has no interest in working with Panini. We know that Panini has no interest in working with Topps.
I mean, does Target want to work with Walmart? I mean, does Ford want to work with Chevy?
So we know these set names, the big set names that we've been used to, the Prisms, the Mosaics, everything is not going to carry over.
Yeah.
It's not going to transition.
Topps needs to get, or Fanatics needs to get creative and give us that Prism, that flawless and stuff like that, not just Topps Chrome.
Which, no offense, Topps has never had the flair for doing, in my opinion. Panini does, but again, everybody has their issues with Panini, as everybody has their issues with Topps. What's going to happen when Panini goes unlicensed?
Garbage.
Everybody complains about everything being unlicensed.
I think that's the direction that it goes in, that it becomes garbage. And I got a two-part question for you. One, does the old Panini boxes, like your 2022 Prisms with, Burrow, Herbert, and Tua, those like boxes, even your 2018, boxes with Mahomes rookies, 2017, do you think those kind of get grandfathered into being extremely valuable because they're obviously Panini products aren't being printed anymore? And the second part is, do you think from when Topps takes over, Fanatics takes over, whoever, do you think that veteran cards will kind of have a little bit more importance in the hobby? Because now you can actually get Joe Burrow patch autos, though they're not rookies, but they are at least Topps licensed patch autos. No, you're not going to get a rookie Joe Burrow RPA from Topps or Fanatics, but you can get this nice veteran card of his.
Well, first off, a lot of people thought that it was COVID that killed the player-worn, game-used, era of cards. It was actually, Fanatics and Panini was so bad with each other that Fanatics pulled the rights on all game-used jerseys. So Panini could only use what they had in stock, what they had left. If you remember, when we first started, everything coming out from Panini was player-worn, event-worn, whichever it was.
Even going back to like Upper Deck and early Topps with just baseball, I mean, it all was game used stuff.
Yep.
All of it.
And now, yes, the only place you will be able to get that is in Topps with the Fanatics rights. But does it put a premium on veterans? No.
It's all about rookies still.
It's still about rookies. It's always been about rookies. It's been about the what have you done for me lately? Veterans aren't hot anymore. They're not sexy anymore. Rookies are sexy. They're brand new. They're fresh. Everybody loves the rookies. The veterans, not so much. I mean, if it's Patrick Mahomes, sure. Okay. We all know the fan base he has. Huge. Rightfully so. I get it. And I have my opinions on him myself. But the guys that make a staple for themselves, and that's maybe what? 20 to 25 guys, realistically.
Talking about just across sports, or
just across football.
Oh, okay.
That are mass collected. Yeah. You could probably name the top 25 if you really had to.
Like legends too, retired guys.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, you're not talking current guys.
Yeah, between Montana, Brady, Burrow, all those guys.
Yep.
It's probably 25 to 30.
Peyton Manning.
Peyton Manning, yep. But that's the reality of it, right? Everybody else, positional players, everything, no respect, no love in the hobby.
Pump and dump, or could care less about him.
Pretty much.
I mean, it's crazy because a guy like Kyle Pitts, for instance, was so coveted back when he came out, and obviously he didn't have the early career that we wanted him to, but now he's actually having a decent season. Granted it's year 4, but no one cares. Bijan Robinson having a decent season, no one cares. Jahmyr Gibbs, good season, nobody cares because these guys aren't rookies anymore, and they're not quarterbacks. And I think that this hobby is so quarterback driven. It's sad because there's so many great other positional players. Like Aaron Donald, he just retired. Arguably the best generational defensive player we're going to see in a very long time.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. Sauce Gardner had all the hype coming out of college, and he's living up to it as one of the best cornerbacks. Nobody cares.
I mean, you could even go back to guys like and this isn't even that long ago. Calvin Johnson.
No one cares.
No care.
No one.
Don't care.
Get a rookie card for not even $10 of him.
Exactly.
And granted, he had a short career, but if you elongate that career, he's probably in that conversation with Jerry Rice. If not, he might already be in the conversation with Jerry Rice.
He's already there, but I think that it kind of segues into the fact of the generational gap going on in the hobby right now, as to where I did mention COVID. COVID was a good thing for the hobby, but it did bring all the baby boomers in, and it totally changed the dynamic of the way things run, operate. More power to them. I love seeing young kids in the hobby. I really do. I love seeing the hobby expand. It's just expanding in more ways than I ever thought it was going to.
Very scientifical, the way I thought.
Yeah.
Play some dramatic music.
Well, there's so many ways now.
Yeah.
There's so many ways. Like you talk about a hype beast, the whole card game is a hype beast.
It's all pump and dump. As Ricky likes to say, buy the rumor, sell the news. Right? I always mix it up. I forget what it is. He always corrects me, but he's not here to correct me. I don't know it. Buy the rumor, sell the news. Yes, I think that's what it is. Okay. We've had a good hobby conversation, and I want to pivot to card shows because obviously that's what this podcast is about, but we kind of have to preface everything to kind of at least lay the groundwork of where you're coming from and your thoughts before I just start asking you card show questions because no one's going to know where you're coming from. At least now we've been able to establish you've been around for a while. This is kind of what you think. This is where you think it's going or where it's been. So let me just ask you a plain question, very black and white question. Why do you enjoy attending card shows? What is it that does it for you?
I mean, nowadays, if you really think about it, it is one of the only places where you can have 98% positive interactions with people. And sometimes, depending on who you are and what's going on in your life, you who just had a baby yourself,
thank you.
Congratulations to you and Mrs. Murph.
Thank you.
You know that time is basically very short for everybody nowadays. And it may be one of the only times now that you see friends, that you see people you know in the hobby, that you even get to indulge in the hobby. The rest of the time is all work nowadays. So that is one of the biggest things. Plus, you still get, if you're like me, you make a good deal or, you make some good trades, you move around some nice stuff. You still get the juices flowing. You get pumped up. You like it. If you still enjoy it, then you should be here. If you're sitting here like, oh man, I lost $10 on that card, you don't belong. You really don't belong.
It's all about the hype beast flippers. I mean that's because that's all they care about is the $10. They want to split the $5 and be able to walk out. And you kind of answered my next question, but I want you to kind of elaborate as I interject. What about the shows makes you excited? What gets you up in the morning? Because a lot of them are early morning, hence the title, early morning, setup. What gets the blood juices flowing before the shows, and how do you maintain that? Is it the people? Is it the cards? Is it the deals? Is it the money, for that matter, that keeps that excitement going?
It's a mixture. I think everybody likes to stay about their wits. You like to still think you got your game and you're sharp and you can be out there with the best of them. I think one of the ways to prove that is to get out there and actually go do it.
Yeah.
I mean, again, you do have these youngins, which some of them I give 100% credit to. 19 years old, doing thousands and thousands of dollars in deals.
The kids have crazy cards.
It's
kids,
great.
Even the younger kids.
It's great whether they did it with no offense, where they did it with daddy's bankroll, they did it all on their own.
Yeah.
They're still doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that teaches these kids business management. It teaches them how to speak to people. It gives them interactions in life instead of sitting in front of a computer or a video game screen. You know, that's important. But another thing is there's always the chance of finding that one random hidden gem. Like it's always out there.
Because you go through like bargain bins often.
Often.
And I tell people this all the time is go through the bins, whether they're dollar cards, quarter cards, $5 box, whatever. You just never know what you're going to find. And it doesn't have to be a card of value, but obviously if it does, that's just great. But like I've countless times found myself like, oh, wow, here's a Trot Nixon card. Wow, I remember, the 04 World Series. They just had the documentary come out, so perfect example. Oh, wow, I remember watching this player growing up. And it's just like it's a blast of nostalgia. And I kind of want to mention, your holistic kind of point of view about having the kids get out and socializing, and, adults socializing so that everyone's not just on their phones, because I have a very similar point of view on it as well, because we're in a day and age where technology is so massive and so like
readily accessible.
Thank you. Yeah. Whereas going to a show, that technology is still being used with eBay and our phones and such like that, but we're talking to each other. We're having a conversation, not just here, but at shows, and we're, handshaking, looking at us, each other in the eyes, passing money back and forth. And I think those commonalities just get so forgotten about, and it's good to see the kids doing it, because I feel like if they weren't involved in this hobby, those kids would be the ones that would be helping gear society into a more technological day and age.
Right. And those people, not to set it aside, those people think those handshakes are a joke. But when we do those handshakes at card shows, those are ironclad deals. They're done.
Done.
They're done.
Lock it in.
The research is done. Everybody agrees it's done. Yeah. Boom. So there's a little bit of a pride and honor in that too. Like, two grown people, or maybe,
some might be some kids,
yeah, being able to come to an accord.
Yeah.
And which
I love the holistic point of view, an accord.
Yeah, which you're not going to see a lot nowadays. It's mostly, hey, I'm guilty of it myself. It's mostly people, making fun of people, teasing each other. It's whatever. It's for fun. Mm-hmm. But it's more pure than that. And the hobby is supposed to be that, with a little bit of everything dashed in there, because it does keep it exciting in a way. Like I said, when it's not egregious and obnoxious,
which it quite oftentimes is.
It can be. Yeah. It definitely can be.
Okay, so we've talked about you as a collector. We've talked about you, who you like to collect, what card shows kind of do and mean for you. But let me ask you this, because a lot of people may not know where to go. Is card shows the best place to make deals? Is it the best place to find the best prices? Now, of course, you might be able to snipe something on eBay or on whatnot. Let's try not to include those, because those are kind of just like one-offs. But if you had to say, Murph, people listening, watching, I do believe that card shows are the best place to find deals. Is that a true statement or not?
It is a 75% true statement, because I'm going to say two things real quick with this. Number one, if you think that investing money into eBay and whatnot is like going back into the hobby, it's not. It's not. But number two, you could have a card shop a la your card shop, which you do and are open to working deals with people. So sometimes the 25% who is worried about loyal customers as they are, as opposed to overhead, which every shop has overhead. We know that.
Amen to that.
And we know it takes time to sell singles. A lot, that's for another day, but a lot of people should understand that.
Maybe we'll have a card shop podcast.
Yeah, you can work deals with your local card shop, but make it make sense. I mean, don't go in expecting to get steals, deals, and all of the above. If it makes sense, it makes sense. But card shows genuinely put money in people's pockets that reinvest it into collecting a lot of the times. If they're not reinvesting it into collecting, this is the aspect I was talking about. Even if you're flipping, you're still reinvesting it into cards to flip. The money is still in the hobby. It's not coming out of the hobby. Mm-hmm. So being that it's a double-edged sword, yes, it is a double-edged sword. As much as people don't like it, it kind of needs to stick around for a little bit until the hobby gets back and solidifies itself even more, because it's back. But for anybody to tell you it's all the way there is crazy. It's crazy because, like I said, we're one downturn away from everybody panic selling and being out of the game.
Where would you say is all the way back? Is it the 90s when it was just everyone was going crazy during the junk wax era, or is it somewhere else?
It's got to be like in the 96 to like 2003 range, right?
So
right.
kind of post junk wax,
Yeah.
kind of turn of the millennium.
When you were actually able to get those rare cards and stuff like that. Like I know, your demographic, a lot of people listen. Do you remember the Skybox Jambalaya cards?
I mean, me personally, no.
So dang near impossible to get.
Too young.
Yeah, dang near impossible to get. So popular of a card, they came out and redesigned it in new product. But some of those cards nowadays, depending on who you have, $800, $1,000. Like we were all chasing those back then.
Yeah.
Now they've gone up. But there's cards that you could get that have doubled and tripled in value. So that's where the hobby is okay at that point. Junk wax way too much. You could consider this era the junk wax era too.
Oh, I completely agree with you, and I would love to dive into that because I think we are in a junk wax era. I don't want to stray away too far away from the topic because I do have a good question I want to follow up with. But I do think we're in a junk wax era as well. But there's a couple of differences. One, there's more money in the hobby now than there was back in the 90s. Whenever we want to pinpoint when the junk wax era ended or the height or whatever.
The internet was also not big then yet.
And that's a big factor too, because how many of these businesses are on the internet, whatnot, eBay, Facebook, social media, Instagram, whatever. Another thing is there's better cards, I would say. Maybe not better conditioned or quality cards, but there's your RPAs, your patch autos, your low numbered cards. And I think with that mixed in with the amount of money and businesses in the hobby and the space right now, I don't think we're at a point where we're ever going to see a crash like it did in the 90s. There's going to be ups and downs, just like with any market, like any type of businesses. But I don't think we're ever going to see a bottoming out. Something drastic would have to happen, like a nationwide, an international wide crash in the market.
Like a company switchover?
No, I'm talking about like the political landscape, the international, the NATO landscape, where just something. World War III breaks out, or skip that, World War IV breaks out, like something crazy drastic. Because otherwise, I mean, what was the reason why the junk wax era became the junk wax era? Because they mass produced so much stuff, but there wasn't your patches, there wasn't your autos, there wasn't your low number stuff, there wasn't all these businesses. Where could you go and find cards back then? Shops and shows
everywhere though.
But like, and then you mix in that was your two main points.
Kmart,
and then you mix in your Kmart's, your gas stations, your convenience stores. I mean, drugstores were even having them. I mean, they were everywhere. But
and now it's the same.
But it's the same. But now there's more ways to kind of go about it with the internet. But back then there wasn't the internet.
Yeah, well, when you're seeing, and you do see it now, the rookies of like the Tim Duncans and the Iversons, and you could even go hockey, and I know it's an extreme example, but Gretzky, Lemieux being worth more, like way more than base rookies that are just coming out fresh right now. That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, I'll never understand why young guys are worth more than veterans. I mean, I use the Justin Herbert example all the time. You probably heard it many times. I pick on Herbert not because he's Herbert, but because he has $1 million sale. Is if he has half the career of Joe Montana, one of the best ever, probably a Hall of Famer, and maybe a top 10 quarterback of all time, maybe even that top 5 mix, honestly. But you look at a guy like Joe Montana who had Joe Montana's career, and no one could care less. What's the difference? Justin Herbert has rookie patch autos, whereas Montana doesn't. But Joe Montana does have rookie cards. He does have patches, game-used patches, and he does have autos and number stuff. Just not everything's put together. And I think that's the biggest thing on why people don't care about your Joe Montanas, your Elways, your Marinos, for that matter.
Right. I mean, it's definitely tough. And nowadays, in my opinion, RPAs don't hold anywhere near the value that they should. Numbered cards, parallels, color, numbered color has taken over the value of those cards like crazy. in a lot of cases.
Yeah, it's wild, and I wonder if it's because people are sick of the not from anything specific game. But a counter argument is, well, yeah, there's red for, I'm going to use Herbert again, but there's pink, there's blue, there's green, there's yellow, there's gold, there's black for Mosaic. Then you got it for Prism. Then you got it for, there's so much of it. So it's like, no matter where you look, it's hard to find that one rookie card or that one card that we should at least seek. It doesn't have to be like the rookie card, but like that one card to seek. Whereas back then, 72 tops, 73 tops, it was just those cards like Mantle, just the 52 tops, just the 53 tops, just the 54. Nowadays, you got players having more than like 4,000 unique rookie cards.
You're paying $1,000 for a Justin Herbert sticker auto with a napkin in it, with the same sticker that they use on a $200 card the next year.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And maybe even the same sticker that they're going to use 5 years from now because they just had so many extras. And it's the same napkin that they used probably at the dinner the night before.
And I feel like part of that is where people need to start realizing it, and things will start to balance. It'll help it balance out a little bit. Yeah. For sure.
So I was gonna segue into this next question by like, wow, we've been so positive. Let's slam the brakes and talk negative. But I feel like we kind of taken a shift a little bit towards the negativity a little bit, but in a good way, because this needs to be talked about. It can't be all peaches and roses all the time. How do you handle, going back to card shows, of course, how do you handle and or deal with people only looking to flip cards, or those who are just non-negotiable? Because we've all dealt with them. We always will. And this is something that kind of freaks people out because some people just don't like the pressure, or they just don't.
They're way too aggressive.
Some people just don't like, making a scene. They just don't like the confrontation. How do you, well, first of all, have you, and I'm sure you have, obviously, but for people that don't know you, how do you deal with it? Do you just walk away? Do you try to get it done still? Do you concede?
I mean, I always try and get it done. Thankfully, and I don't know where it came from, I can look at some things and I can remember some things. So I have a lot of built up here.
What's things? Can
like
you elaborate?
Stats, sales, specific
of
cards.
Cards. Oh, I thought we were talking to people.
So when somebody's talking about something or a card, I can give them feedback and be like, well, no, you're not right in this aspect, or you're not right in that aspect, but you're right here, and try to find some sort of common ground.
Something.
But there is the point where it's just better to not, be that person and be aggressive. Because, again, like I said, you like to have that positive atmosphere. There is going to be people that you can't work with, which is fine.
Yeah.
Is that affecting you at the end of the day? No. Odds are there's 200 to 300 more of those cards at least out there, unless it's a number to 99, that you'll get your hands on. You don't need that person to make your day or make your week or whatever. There's always other ways to go about things. There is going to be those people, though, and it can set an aggressive tone for the hobby. And yes, people don't like confrontation, but this is also something you're bound to come across regardless. You're going to come across it regardless, and how you want to respond to it is totally up to you. How I respond to it and how somebody else responds to it are two different things.
Well, there is only one you, and you handle things the way that you do because you are Joe, and you're such a great guy. But have you ever gone riled up, like aggressive, angry, even? And if so, how do you handle that?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. I mean, I think we've even had a slight incident at your locale your previous
trade night,
your previous locale, but yeah, there's a bunch of grown men in a room. Okay,
sometimes kids, sometimes females,
sometimes kids.
We are inclusive.
Female collectors is something I specifically wanted to touch on, but we'll get to that.
Hold on.
No, not like that. Pause.
Come on.
Pause.
Come on. Language.
Pause. What do you expect sometimes?
Yeah.
All that testosterone in one room, and everybody it's turned into people trying to get the upper hand on each other. It's not turned into how can I help you with your collection. It's how can I squeeze you?
Give me the best deal for your cards.
So it's bound to get a little hot sometimes. And like I said, unfortunately, there's going to be the people that are like that. They're not all like that. Not at all. I've had some very positive experiences with people all across this country. As a matter of fact, again, at your previous locale, there was an individual that came from Pennsylvania, and we did a whole stream in your store.
Yep, I was on it.
Yeah, you were on it.
I still have yet to get the clip, the footage to make my own videos.
I'll get on top of it.
It's been a year
again. Jesus.
It's been a year. It doesn't even matter anymore. It'll just be an exclusive if you want to go see me and get my thoughts.
That's the point. There was people that came together from Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, all to make that podcast in your store.
Rhode Island and Massachusetts is
But still, it was deep. It was deep into Mass. It was like almost 2 hours. But even Pennsylvania, and just to have the collective and get together and be able to talk about the hobby. How many people are actually doing that? There's people that set up, they do their podcasts from the big shows like the Nationals. But how many people are trying to do it on a regular basis or trying to get information out there and trying to educate audiences and what should you be doing or what should you be trying to do? And you know what I mean?
Yep. No, I totally get it. And everyone has different perspectives about how to go about this hobby. And that's kind of one of the many reasons why I wanted to make this podcast was to have different opinions other than just mine. And as much as I love Ricky and I's hobby talk, I mean, it is just our opinion. And you even mentioned before we hit the record button, before we started going, that you wanted to get on to give your opinions because you have stuff to say. Everyone has stuff to say, or everyone should have stuff to say. And kind of one of the big things I want to do with this podcast specifically is to get people like you who attend. I want to get people like the other Joe who has had a shop, who does the memorabilia, who sets up at shows, who's into the vintage landscape. You two are completely different. Another guy I want to have on, Mike, who just had his own show in West Greenwich like a couple weeks ago. I want to hear his point of view of how he runs a local show that he just started up, how he does the whole vending at card shows. There's just so many different perspectives and point of views in this space. And again, hobby is full of 97% good people. It's the 3% that speak the loudest. And I only want to have the 97% on this podcast because the positive aspect of it, we need to be realistic. Of course, we cannot throw that narrative out, but I want the positivity aspect of it, but the realistic aspect of it to speak out. And I think through conversations like this, education, information, stories even, I think that's a really good way to kind of promote that.
Oh, absolutely.
All right. Can you share your best card show story or transaction you've been a part of? It could be a funny haha. It could be a deal you miserably lost on, but you just want to get rid of it. Or it could be a major profiting deal that you were able to capitalize on.
I saw this question ahead of time, and this was 2 days ago. And I've been thinking about it, and I just can't think of one specific deal or one time. It's kind of crazy. And the best part about card shows is everyone is a different beast. They're all different. You have a lot of turnover with vendors. The more advertised shows get, the more people show up. So it's always, a lot of the time, different vendors, different people, at least lately, because shows have exploded lately. It seems there's 3 or 4 shows every weekend.
Oh, that is something we absolutely have to talk about. I didn't have it on the questions I sent you, but that's something I want to talk about because you do drive and you will travel to these shows, at least the local shows here in like the southern New England area.
Oh, I'm going to Connecticut.
But I want to talk about the finish what you had to say first, and then we can kind of pivot into that.
But yeah, it's not more as deals that I've lost or haven't, or a good deal, or so on and so forth. It's that every show is different. And that's what I want to express to people. What you see at a small VFW show, you are not going to see at, locally what we have, the Quincy show. It's a 2-day show, a very big show up here. It is night and day.
Oh,
and it's just so many more people, so much more stuff. Obviously prices are going to be different, but, some attitudes are going to be different, but it's the experience. The experience is more enjoyable. I mean, why would I still be doing it after all these years?
That's a question only you can answer.
Yeah, I mean, I probably go to 4 or 5 shows a weekend, every weekend.
So let me ask you this now. I guess to preface the question is, people ask me all the time, you ever going to run your own show? Have you ever thought about it? And the answer is yes to that question. However, the one thing that's holding me back is is when am I going to do it? Because I think I could put on a good show. I think I could promote it good. I think I could get good vendors. I think I could have some fun with it and make sure people have fun with it. But the problem for me is there's a damn show, at least multiple shows every weekend, no matter where you look. I mean, especially in the bigger states, you're going to probably run into this issue as well. But here in Rhode Island, Massachusetts, a couple small states, Connecticut, you can even mix into that too. But like, you look on your calendar and you could probably find 2, 3, 4 shows sometimes, all within the same 2-hour drive from wherever you are. And the big thing for me on why I don't want to run my own show is the oversaturation of the shows. I think it takes the lust away from card shows, is the amount of shows we have. Now, would I rather have too many shows than not enough shows? Yes.
Yeah, because you could talk to some of my friends, and I have a few that live in Texas, a few that live in the middle of nowhere, and they have nothing.
And that's the big thing for these bigger states like a Texas or maybe even a California is you might have to drive 3, 4, 5 hours to find a local show or something, because there's not always going to be the national or the Burbank show or the Philly show every weekend, but there will be a 30, 35 table VFW show. However, in the big states, that might be 5 hours away.
But that's the other thing that, and this is a side mention, of course. I mean, this is for, people that you're friends with or you're close with or whatever. When you're walking through a card show and you're on video chat with somebody showing them cards and they're like, get that for me, I'll Venmo you or PayPal you. I mean, that's a whole other dimension added to the hobby right there. You're helping expand it even more, which has happened. I have done it. So I can only imagine other people do too.
Yeah.
I would think. But yeah, there's places that just don't have enough shows. But you're right with the oversaturation, because there is a show that sometimes I set up at now, which you know of, is the Woonsocket show on Thursday nights even.
Which is a complete different twist. Most people know shows to be on Sundays, maybe Saturdays, maybe both. Blue Moon, 3 days, 3-day shows. But we're seeing more Wednesdays and Thursday shows.
5 to 9 after work. Some people can't make weekends because they work on weekends.
Yep.
I think it's a great idea. But, I mean, how many people are going to be able to cater to that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so let me ask you this now, because we've talked about a lot of you being the attendee, walking around, making deals, talking to people. You mentioned, and I'm glad you mentioned this, is you mentioned you're starting to set up as a vendor now, which is something that we've done together at the Cranston show. We would kind of split the table a little
Absolutely,
bit.
yeah.
But now you're venturing out.
We did in Quincy, actually.
Quincy,
too,
yes,
as
thank
well.
you. Yeah, actually, I think you're part of the thumbnail for one of the Quincy videos, actually.
Yes, I'm in one of the videos, actually.
So talk to me about you venturing out into becoming a vendor now, because I think this is another interesting piece that we can kind of dive into, because we've scratched the surface a lot of the whole attending aspect of it, which is a great different perspective from you than I got from last episode from Joe. But now I want to hear your vending aspect of it, because you're not as well versed as a vendor as you are as an attendee. So kind of dive into that.
I mean, I like to think of myself as a little more well versed, but I mean, to each their own.
My bad.
No, it's all good. So setting up is a lot different, but literally, if you simplify it, it's so easy.
You might have to.
I'm going.
I was going to say, because some people might not understand the simplification.
It's so easy. Who's the player of the week that week? Who's hot that week? That's it. Literally, that's it.
So right now, this week, as we're recording, I don't know when this episode's going to come out. November 6th, Tuesday. Who's the player of the week right now?
So let's see who was big this.
Watch
past
this
weekend.
not come out for another 3 weeks, and it's like this player's completely irrelevant.
Yeah, I know, right?
Choose your words carefully.
Derrick Henry.
But he's a running back.
People have been picking up Derrick Henry left and right.
But
I've been
Joe,
watching
he's not Patrick Mahomes.
It doesn't matter. He's one of the only running backs that has a shot at doing 2,000 yards again. Has a shot. I've been watching people overpay on Derrick Henry all week. All week.
Yeah. Okay.
And let me tell you something. Now you go set up at a card show with Derrick Henry, you're going to sell out.
You think?
You're going to, especially if it's moderately priced.
What if it's not rookie stuff, though? What if it's like, because none of his Raven stuff is going to be obviously rookie stuff.
Numbered, color, short print, case hits. That's the formula.
Take notes, guys. Say it again one more time.
Numbered,
look at the camera. It's right there.
Numbered, parallel, short print, case hits. And
Not
color.
once did he say
And color.
rookies. He did not say rookies, not once.
You don't need to say rookies. His rookies sell for less than his numbered, color, parallels, case hits, all of them. It doesn't matter.
And I think that's a huge thing that people get so confused on is that it has to be rookie cards, which is far from the truth. Now, if all they have is rookie cards, that's one thing. But Derrick Henry's been around the league for what? Was his 8th season now?
Yeah, 8 years.
So, sure, would it be nice to have a rookie card? Sure. I mean, it's great. But I think rookie cards are overrated. Sorry, we're completely getting off track. But it's nice to know that, hey, if I pick up this out of 25 gold refractor of Derrick Henry because I like Derrick Henry or he's the hottest player of the week, then that should be just as good as having a rookie card. Even like a base rookie card. What would you rather have, an out of 25 or a base rookie card?
Out of 25.
But 9 out of 10 people are going to say the rookie card.
It's crazy.
Makes no sense to me. Okay, so
It's the common sense hasn't sunk in with certain people yet.
dive into the vending thing. I'm sorry.
So, I mean, that's just one person. I mean,
Yeah.
you already know Patrick Mahomes. Everybody wants Patrick Mahomes.
Because he's
Everybody-
Patrick Mahomes.
Because he's Patrick Mahomes. Everybody wants downtowns.
Yeah.
Why?
What about kabooms?
Kabooms do. Anything case hit.
What's better? Sorry, I'm just rapid fire.
What's better? Kabooms.
Is that
By far.
what you think, or is that what the hobby thinks?
No, that's not what the hobby thinks. They do value kabooms at a premium, but people will move downtowns like water.
Yeah.
I have not been on that
Water.
trend, that boat. I gladly missed that boat. I don't want to be on it. I don't want to be anywhere near it. If for 2 seconds you think when those botched cases came out with Panini, I have a quick story about that too.
About Panini?
No, about the botched cases. So Attleboro's what, half hour from here?
From the shop?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, about that.
$2.95.
There was a kid that did the Emerald Square Mall show, right? This was right after the botched cases.
Can you elaborate on the botch cases?
So
So
there
what-
was
what are you talking about?
There was
Some
cases
people might
that
not know
came
what you're
out
talking about.
from Panini.
Is this the Crown Royale thing?
No, this is no. That's the ones you could scan.
Yeah.
The Crown Royale.
So what are you talking about, the botch cases?
There was cases that had like 40 to 50 downtowns.
Oh, for football.
For
Oh, I
football.
thought we were talking about basketball.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay, so I think everyone knows that. I mean, we all saw that, the first off the line cases had a gazillion downtowns. It raised the question, would, blaster cases or mega cases have downtowns, or even hobby cases for that matter?
that also included the Black Pandoras, the golds numbered to 10,
Yeah,
et cetera,
and
et
all,
cetera.
and all these breakers were just pulling 4 dozen downtowns, and it was completely killing the downtown market. And this was, again, before the actual release, because first off the line comes out first. So now that we've cleared that up, carry on.
A half hour away, a kid, I think he was 17, something like that, set up at the Emerald Square Mall show. Had 3 of the gold
Not 1, not 2, not 3.
3.
Not 3.
Jameer Gibbs downtowns numbered to 10.
Did he have, what's his jersey number? 7, 8?
No, Jameer Gibbs.
No, but what's his jersey number?
26.
Jesus.
Wow.
Roll Tide.
Yeah, wow. Yeah. That was college.
Sorry, carry
we
on.
live in the glory days. Is that not a problem? When
It
somebody
has to be a huge
somebody has their hands on 3 of them already?
There's no way you can corner a market a week after the market comes out.
So now those people that are chasing that card, legit chasing that card,
Mm-hmm.
paying for it, there's only 7 left.
That's it.
So now your odds decrease drastically.
And I feel like people don't recognize this because I think they just get so blown away with oh my God, so many downtowns are being pulled. Oh my God, you're getting a downtown. Let me get a downtown.
So then they're not a case hit.
But that's what they're getting wrapped up in is the accessibility of these downtowns. And I always beg the question is, would you rather a card, like for Pokemon specifically, I guess you could say the same thing for sports, but you just have to kind of change the vocabulary a little bit. Would you rather have a card that has a low pull rate but high value, or would you rather be able to get the card with a high pull rate but low value?
The better question is it due to mass printing of the product or mass printing of the cards themselves?
That's a good question. I mean, obviously the product itself is absolutely getting mass produced. I think that's plain as day. But are these cards even actually numbered to 10? This is why I could care less about numbered cards for the most part. Your older cards, absolutely. But your newer cards, it's numbered to 99. Oh, great. There's 98 other ones out there of the red. Then you mix in the orange and the yellow and the green. And again, who cares? Because there's so much of it out there.
Well, we're all simple people at the root, right? We all like shiny things. That's how they get everybody.
Exactly.
Throw a different number on it, build a rainbow.
And that's why
have fun.
And that's why the prisms and the mosaics and the selects do great. And I think Topps does need to kind of figure out how they can produce their own prisms and their own mosaics outside of Topps Chrome.
And it will never die because they're just preying off basic human instinct. Ooh, shiny. It's been like that since Stone Age. Like, you're going to see it. You're going to like it.
Yeah.
And you're probably going to buy it or trade for it. I mean, it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
There's no trick to it. I mean, they're throwing the multiple colors out there, and everybody's like, oh, I'm going to build the rainbow. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Okay, cool.
Go for it.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Just know we're all suckers. To all of us, including myself.
Yeah.
I mean, we see a pretty card, we're like, ooh, that's nice.
Gets us excited, and it's just
right. We all do it.
Yeah. Especially a player, which again, this is a very common thing that people forget. But a player we want to collect. People forget that aspect about this hobby is the collecting aspect of it. Now, those that are watching who are collectors completely disregard this. But for those that maybe are more the flippers, there is an element of the hobby called collecting, right? And I think that is one thing that people should do more of in this hobby. And I think people would be able to have more fun in this hobby than just worry about the dollar signs attached to these cards.
It's true. But on the flip side, without getting into it, I don't want to touch on anything more than this. The economy's made it hard.
Like the actual United States economy?
Yeah.
Okay.
To not take cards and make money off of them. Yeah. With the way things are. If it's available, why not? There's so many platforms to do it. Why not?
Yeah.
People are doing it on TikTok, eBay, whatnot, Instagram, Facebook Live.
Everywhere. I mean, that's why, like, compared to the 90s to today, there's so many more platforms for people to buy, sell cards.
I mean, if you really wanted to Aristotle this, vendors are flippers too.
Of course.
So either way you look at it.
Am I a flipper?
Technically, yes.
You wouldn't consider...
So am I, though.
So you wouldn't consider me a retailer?
You are a retailer as well.
Okay.
But there is certain things that you do not get retail that you do sell in your shop.
Some people think that I can... They ask me, oh, do you have any Paul Skeens cards? I'm like, no, I just sold my last one. Oh, when are you going to get any more in? Well, I can't go to, I can't go to Southern Hobby and just order more. I'm sorry.
I think it's a very fine line between, such as I said, flipping, collecting, and straddling that fence to where you do both right.
There's nothing wrong with doing both. I promote doing both.
Yeah, there is nothing wrong with it, but like I said, if you're going to collect, be mindful of what you're going to collect.
Yeah.
It's like we discussed it before we started earlier. Look how many people just hyped on Mac Jones and just bought into it.
And they're doing the same thing with Drake May.
And lost so much money.
I got a stack of Mac Jones cards somewhere over there that are like patches, autos, color stuff.
And that's just one person.
Yeah.
Just one.
We could do this with a dozen guys that were drafted from 2020 on.
Right.
It's absurd.
But being mindful about who you're collecting, who you want to collect, what you actually want to get yourself into, yeah, you definitely should.
Let me ask you this. Do you want to play a little buy or sell game, or would you rather hammer out these 4 questions that I have left and then the buy or sell game?
Let's hammer out the questions. I definitely want to do buy or sell.
Okay. What's a piece of advice you would give someone just getting into the hobby or looking to get into the hobby? What's that one thing? You maybe have already touched upon it at some point in this episode, just through natural conversation and just answering questions. But
don't listen to other people unless it's for a perspective opinion. Like taking perspective into perspective what they think. Collect what you want. I collect stuff that other people would not even collect. It's definitely based on the person. Don't go off what everybody else is going off of unless you're getting into this again for the reasons of making money. Then just like anything else, collecting or flipping, whatever, you want to do your research. Research is the most important. You have so many outlets to research. There should be no reason, unless, again, we're dealing with the younger generation, brain not fully developed yet. I don't care what anybody says. That's scientific.
Is our brain even developed? Well, actually, 25 is when your brain stops developing. And
exactly. So I'm going with the scientific method on this one.
Thank you.
But
fact check.
There's no reason why grown men should not know their business before they walk into a card show. You should know your values. You should know your comps, which everybody's a comp killer.
That requires doing work, and I just want to sell you for 100% and get my cash now.
Okay, but any hobby is work. I said if you're going into it collecting wise too.
That's a good point. Sorry, I was trying to be a smart ass.
Yeah, no, any hobby is work. You build model cars, it's work.
Of course. I mean, any hobby is supposed to be a hobby, which is fun, which requires money. But if it was just easy and handed to you, what's the fun in that?
You fish, that's work.
Of course.
I've been out fishing a few days. I've cast maybe 100, 200 times. My shoulder's killing me afterwards. But you know what?
Sitting
That's
on
my
the
hobby.
couch, that's work.
It's my hobby. I like fishing. But that's what I'm saying. You need to do the work, just like with anything.
Couldn't agree more.
And there's way too many outlets out there for you to have an excuse as to why you didn't do it.
Yeah.
And those are the people that I don't really pity when it comes to the card show front, because you have too many avenues for you to come in and claim to me that you don't know what this is.
So many people just want to sell for max value without doing the work. And I oftentimes tell people, hey, you could take it to Facebook. You could take it to eBay. You can go to shows, go to other shops. Oh, I just want the cash. I'm like, I'm sorry, that's not my problem. I don't know what to tell you. You got to put in the work. That answer could be the same for this question. What's a piece of advice you would give someone looking to attend their first show?
Start off small. Okay. Start off small. Big shows are overwhelming.
I mean, there's people that go to their first show and it's like Mohegan or Quincy or whatever.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's absurd.
That's overstimulating right
so,
there.
Okay, so starting off small, is that the same piece of advice for someone that's looking to attend their first show and also vend their first show? Because if you're vending your first show, that you probably have already been to a show, but there's still a learning curve by vending your first show.
Man, vending it is different than attending, but a lot of the best vendors I know do have value boxes. If you can get a value box together, get a value box together. People are so focused on slabs, it kills me. It kills me because PSA 9s are worth garbage, hot garbage.
All 9s are worth the same.
Yeah, hot garbage. They're worth less than raw at some points. Worry about some nice raw cards. Mm-hmm. Like I said, it's the numbered, the parallels, the colors, all that stuff.
It's not rookies, guys.
It's very rarely rookies.
It's not rookies.
I mean, there's maybe 3 or 4 guys right now their rookies hold value. It's Mahomes, Allen, Lamar Jackson. Yeah, it's those guys. Brady, obviously.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'd say those are the main 4 in football at least.
But you can still get game used Brady stuff. People care about first dynasty Patriot stuff.
A lot of times when you see it, though,
but Brady's different though. I mean, not everyone's gonna be a Brady.
A lot of times when you see it though, it's beat up, and that's because people still weren't taking care of their stuff at that point.
I couldn't agree more.
But yeah, I mean, it's quite obvious. Even the guys like you could take one of the best receivers in the league, Justin Jefferson, still not even worth a fraction of what those guys are worth.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there is guys, they're base rookies. Yeah, they hold value, but few and far between.
I was gonna say they're in a class of their own. You know, Brady's in a universe of his own, but then your Mahomes is inching up. But even that's a whole Let me get these questions.
And then you go by sport and it changes. You know.
For someone who might be nervous about going to their first show, what's a reason or two that they should just do it? Don't just get up and go. But like, what's an actual reason to push someone who's kind of timid? Because it can be overstimulating for people.
Well, I'm assuming we're just talking collectors aspect, and I mean,
of course. Collectors.
Yes, yeah. Flippers already know what they're doing.
You're right, though.
They already know. As a collector and you like cards, it's just the environment. Like I said, you get out there, you meet people, you network. I have networked so much in the past 10 years. I met you through networking, like just being in a new shop that opened up and coming in and doing all sorts of different things. Same thing with people that
now we're friends though. I mean, imagine that.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
Same thing with people that are halfway across the country.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there has to be some inkling of faith still left in humanity. there has to be.
Which I don't know. I don't know.
It's hard.
Yep.
I know it is. We live in a day and age where it's just too easy to take advantage of people, but that's what I'm talking about, is the environment, the networking, the relationships you can build. You can.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reason to go out and try it. And if you genuinely love sports, it's a great way to express your love in sports without, no offense, you have memorabilia all over the place, but it takes up room. A lot of room.
Way too much room.
Way too much room.
That's why I don't have that piece of. That's great. I mean, no one can see this, but there's a big piece of real estate on the wall, but I'm saving that for shelving, for storage, because that's what I need to use more of, not to hang up pictures of
Right.
who I
Do
like.
you need to hang your jersey, or do you need more storage
I
for the
need
shop?
more storage space. All right. So last question that I have geared up for is, if you could go back in time and tell your novice self one piece of advice. So I feel like this could be a little bit different than, kind of just talking to somebody nervous. This is you talking to you. What's that one piece of advice that you wish you knew then that you now know now? Now, obviously, you then and you now are two different people, and life has happened, like we mentioned earlier. But what's that one piece that you think would be extremely beneficial?
To be honest, and you could fact check this as well. So I was born in '83.
Whoa,
so
aging yourself.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
I know, but it plays into what I'm saying.
Big 4-0.
So when I was like 6,
4-1.
it would have been what, 89?
Buy all the Jordans, baby.
Buy all the vintage.
Yeah.
Because the value is so there at this point. My kid would have an inheritance at this point if I invested hard into vintage. Vintage definitely has held its value over the years, way better than anything else.
Yeah.
And if I had known that it was going to hold that well, I probably would have told my young self, hey, go invest in this, because the prices then so much cheaper. Oh, so much cheaper.
I mean, what was it in I think the early 90s, some guy bought PSA 10 Mickey Mantle for like 200,000 or 400,000.
Yeah, it was something super.
And they're like, dude, what the hell are you doing? Like, are you stupid for that? And now the card, no public sale, arguably worth $30 million.
Yeah. The number that popped in, I thought it was like 180K or something like that. But it was ridiculously underpriced. That's what I'm saying. You could get those cards at those prices. I mean, not like I had 100K at the time, but you could still get your hands on decent vintage cards.
Yeah.
If I had known, then I would have told my
advice.
young self. Absolutely.
No, that's a good piece of advice, because I mean, rookie quarterbacks are going to come and go. Rookie players are always going to come and go, but the legends will never die.
And what is the timetable on vintage? Is it 25 plus years?
I
When the
think
cards considered vintage?
I don't know about cards, but I know from a society standpoint, 25 years is the vintage number. But when it comes to cards, I mean, card 25 years, that's 1999. That's
exactly.
So like, I think by definition that's vintage, but by the hobby standards, that depends who you ask. 50s, 60s, maybe 50 years old, so it'd be 74 now. 74 tops would be vintage, or some people just consider all 70s vintage. But it just depends who you ask.
Yeah, I'm curious, because I've always said that LeBron cards is going to start being vintage soon,
and he's still playing.
Playing.
He'll be playing when his rookie card is officially a vintage card. Again, by definition.
By definition, yes.
All right, so I do not have a list of players.
Okay.
I'm just gonna rattle them off the top of my head.
Okay.
Buy or sell. One brief definition to your answer. I don't need no stories. I don't need no nothing. Just I'm buying or selling this player because of this. Ready? We talked about him earlier. Paulo Banchero.
Oh, definitely buy. He's out for the year.
Okay.
He's gonna dip.
Trevor Lawrence.
Looking at their schedule, buy.
Jaden Daniels.
Definite buy.
Even with the hype?
The hype is real. The hype is real.
So you think there's more room in the market?
Way more room.
Caleb Williams.
He right now with his prices, sell.
I know you don't like this person, Jason Tatum. Don't give me the biased answer, because I know what your biased answer is. It's to sell because you don't like him.
Well, his prices haven't even peaked right now.
So would that be a buy?
Yeah, I'd buy. He hasn't peaked yet.
Luka.
Sell.
Shohei.
Oh, definitely sell.
Why?
That World Series performance? You serious? That was terrible.
That
was terrible.
But you don't. But
they won, yes, but he really, if you look at it from a realistic perspective,
Yeah.
he really didn't have much to do with it.
No.
If that was the case, then everybody should be buying Freddie Freeman like crazy.
Okay, so let me ask you this: Mookie Betts,
Buy.
Corey Seager. I know that is such a random one. I love Corey Seager because he's a 2-time World Series champion. He's a Rookie of the Year guy. I'd have to double check MVP, but nobody cares.
No.
People only cared about Wander Franco when he was a thing. People only care about Jackson Holiday now. But here's Corey Seager, who's probably a Hall of Famer.
Again, and Shohei got hurt.
So okay, so answer the Mookie Betts question first.
I said buy.
Oh, you did buy.
Yeah.
Corey Seager.
Dude, I mean, I think he's a low-key buy.
Okay. Paul Skeens.
Sell.
Jackson Holiday.
Sell.
Jackson Churio.
I like the Cherio brothers. Buy.
Jaylen Brown.
Buy.
Why?
He is the better player on that team.
Who has more room in their value, Brown or Tatum?
Brown, because he's going to be gone soon.
Now, really?
Yeah. There's no way he's
Let me riddle you this. So Brown's market jumped. The performance he had, winning the title, winning the MVP. Well,
but yeah, it's back down again.
But hear me this. Tatum won. But
Didn't go up.
But does that change with a potential MVP and a potential finals MVP if he's able to capture those awards?
No. You've already seen the peak with Tatum.
I'm talking about Tatum's value.
Hold on. Arguably, you look at the stats, he already should have that award. Guess what? Even with the numbers, people still don't care. Team USA, where was he sitting? On the bench. Obviously, I'm not the only person that gets rubbed the wrong way by Jason Tatum.
Mm-hmm.
There's other people.
Try to be unbiased here. Try to be unbiased.
I am being unbiased. The Team USA coach thought so as well. so I am being unbiased. Obviously, I'm not the only one that gets rubbed the wrong way by him. I am a Celtics fan. I just think he is a diva.
Did you say buy or sell Luka? I forget.
I don't even remember now. I think it was sell.
I don't know. Okay, so let me ask you this: what would make a Tatum, Brown, Luka market go up?
Luka needs a championship,
and that would just
yeah.
Even though it's already kind of incredibly high,
it's
come down. Don't get me wrong.
It's come down. Championship would be,
but like pound for pound, his market's higher than Tatum's.
Would be way better. Let's put it this way: Lamar Jackson, they're calling him MV3 already.
Yeah, but he's not Mahomes.
Okay, but if he wins his third MVP, what's going to happen with his cards?
Should go up.
Nothing.
But you're right. Mahomes.
He's won
I was
two.
going to mention this earlier, but I neglected to. Mahomes went from 2 Super Bowls to 3 Super Bowls. Nothing.
Exactly.
I mean, I think that from 0 to 1 helps. 1 to 2 probably a little bit. Anything after that, no one cares.
He's won 2 MVPs.
Yeah.
Nobody cares.
Nope. Back to the buy or sell. Wembanyama. Is the ceiling already that high? Is it too?
It's too high.
Is it at the highest?
Yeah, it's already too high. It's already too high. It's not sustainable. That bubble is going to pop soon, and whether it's through injury or poor performance or whatever it may be, that bubble is going to pop.
Do you think it would go naturally down in value over time with no more rookie products coming out? Even with a clean bill of health and nothing like that, he just plays his game. He doesn't win anything. Maybe doesn't make the playoffs. Maybe even does, but he's out in the first round.
Oh, absolutely. If he just turns into a basic double-double guy,
Yeah.
Because if you want to run with that principle, Karl Anthony Towns should be one of the most expensive players in the NBA. He's a great player.
Mm-hmm.
Has sustained for how many years now?
What did he come in the league in 2015? I think it was.
Yeah, and then that's just one example. He's an outstanding player. Is he valued high? No.
All right, I got a few more. Jalen Brunson.
Personal bias aside, he's definitely a buy. All his stuff has been low, is still low, and he's proven that he is that guy. Not only that, is he took that pay cut for the team. I want a team guy like that.
Yeah.
I want a team guy like that that's going to put the team first. So, he's a buy to me. I don't think he's a sell because, honestly, if you sell, you're not making nothing.
What about Giannis? That team is horrid.
He is so underperformed, too. He really has, if you think about the past 2 years.
I mean, him and Wemby have similar, structure.
And people are going to crucify
Tall,
me.
lengthy, shifty, nifty kind of a guy. Giannis has put on, muscle and weight, since coming to the league, but...
Yeah, and people are going to crucify me for saying that, but his past 2 years have just been mediocre at best.
So...
I'm selling. Yeah.
LeBron.
Dude, like him or hate him, at the end of the day, when he does retire, his cards are going to spike. And whether you like him or not. He's still one of the best to ever do it. Not a fan, but he's a buy right now because his stuff, honestly, is at some of the lowest prices I've ever seen it.
Yeah.
He's a definite buy, definite investment, and if you hold it down the road, it'll pay off, believe me.
2 more. Mahomes. Jokes aside.
The disdain. So obviously his prices have taken a hit this year. I mean, up until this week, he was leading the league in interceptions. I think Jordan Love took that from him this week.
Did.
But he can do no wrong as far as the hobby goes. So anytime you can see him and it's reasonable, he's a buy.
All right, actually, I have more than just one more now.
I don't care.
Joe Burrow.
Oh, it's definite buy. Definite buy. What I was worried about at the beginning of the season, and this is the rumblings people were hearing, is that he wasn't able to grip the ball the right way. Well, he's proved that he can. So that being said, are they underperforming? Yeah, they are. But that's not going to last. As a matter of fact, they're playing the Ravens this week, I believe, and Jackson is 7-1 against Burrow. Burrow's due.
You think so? Okay. Josh Allen.
Damn. He's a sell, bro. He is possibly one of the most overrated quarterbacks in the league.
3 more. Then I'm done. Jalen Hurts.
A huge sell for me. I don't care about the tush push. I don't care about the rushing touchdowns. I think if you go back to last year, and we're 9 games into the season, 17 last year, so that's 26. He has well over 20 interceptions. I said this before. I'll say it again. He's looking like the game's moving too fast for him in a lot of ways. Looking at a little regression. I feel like he's a sell. That's how I feel.
Tua.
Dude, 1 hit away from being out of the NFL.
But he's also bottom barrel right now. While still being an active NFL quarterback, his stuff is dirt cheap.
True. But
so
he got concussed by somebody's bicep.
But what I'm saying is, like, could it be more of a flip situation where it just takes 1 game for his market to go up, or just maybe just the rest of the season, maybe make a little run or something, and then just kind of dump it?
Well, we don't know that because it would take
we don't know.
No, but it would. I think it would take a couple games because of the health issues.
Yeah.
People are aware. I mean, it's one of the most
similar to Zion. I mean, people could care less that he's playing good. They just know that the injury history is there.
Yeah, it's one of the most broadcast injury situations in all of history. We've changed NFL rules because of this man.
Yeah.
I think too many people are aware. I don't even think you can touch him right now.
Or it's a 15-yard penalty.
Yeah, I don't even think you can touch him hobby-wise. I think he's a sell all day.
Last one, Tom Brady.
It's a no-brainer. If you can find cheap Brady that's nice Brady, it's a buy all day. The value is always going to be there. You have to wait on a return if you're looking for a return, or wait 20 years, hand it down to your kid. Regardless, the value is going to stay. It's not going anywhere. 6 Super Bowls is hard to touch. 7, sorry.
It's okay. None taken.
Even with Mahomes, the longevity that you have to play and the amount of games you need to play is
crazy,
damn near impossible.
Yeah,
it's damn near impossible.
I think Brady's value will kind of start trickling up when Mahomes isn't winning Super Bowls. So like when Mahomes is in his mid-30s and he only has like 4 Super Bowls, then I think people will start to realize, well, wow, this Mahomes guy is kind of near the end of his career. Well, wow, 7 Super Bowls was really impressive.
Well, technically, how long has he been out now? 2 years?
Who?
Brady?
Yeah, this is his 2nd full season out.
He's first ballot Hall of Famer, so just wait till a Hall of Fame induction.
There we go.
That's what'll jump.
Yeah, I mean, just like with anybody, as it should. I mean, usually I would like to think players' values spike when they retire, when they go in the Hall of Fame, and then maybe
when they pass away.
Yeah, when they pass away.
Yeah.
All right. We've talked about a bunch of different things, hobby related, card shows related. As we wrap up this episode that has gone well over an hour, if you guys are still watching this, thank you so much for joining us. Please make sure you smash the thumbs up button. Comment down below any follow-up questions, thoughts, opinions, anything down below that you want to kind of reiterate or piggyback off of what Joe said, what I said. Doesn't matter what it is. I'd love to hear your comments down below. But I want to wrap up today's episode by asking you this one question, just to kind of give me any opinion, any take, anything you have to say about card shows specifically that we didn't touch upon today, that we didn't talk about.
Man,
if there is anything,
we did touch on a lot, and
we were all over the map.
Yeah, we broadened the spectrum a lot as well. I do think, like you said, if anybody really had any specific questions, I would be willing to address them in comments or whatever. I was more than happy to come on here and do this,
Mm-hmm.
talk about everything. Hopefully, there's going to be people that disagree. I expect that 100%.
Welcome to my world
Yeah.
with 1-star reviews.
Yeah, 100%. Which I welcome that too. It's all fun to have an opinion and to at least be able to talk about it amicably. It's anybody has any questions, they could definitely ask me for my opinion or perspective, as we mentioned earlier. Doesn't mean it's going to be right or wrong, but perspective never hurts.
There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching this extremely long episode of Early Morning Setup, a card show podcast. Thank you so much again. Please make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Check out the channel membership program. And Joe, I definitely want to have you back on here on the channel, whether it's this podcast, Hobby Talk, or anything else that we have here on the channel. But
I'll definitely come back.
Please do. Please do. Please do. And that's going to wrap it up for this video, guys. I'm going to have a video over my face, right? Because I'm on the right side of the screen for you guys for the next video that I want you guys to watch, because I do believe this one right here covering my face will be excellent for your hobby endeavor. So hopefully I'll see you in that one.